In this video, I'm going to explain the connection between anxiety and depression, and it's not something that people talk about. It's not something you're probably ever going to hear from a physician or a psychiatrist. Imagine if you were given a car as a gift, tax-free, free car, and you are driving it, and let's say you don't know this, but it's actually a magic car that repairs itself if something breaks. So for example, if something were to break, unbeknownst to you, it would repair itself over time. Pretty cool, right? So let's just say that you're driving it and maybe you're driving a little too hard. It's starting to overheat. Maybe it's the heat of the summer and you're driving it uphill and all of a sudden it could break. It's about to break or overheat or something's about to break on it. And instead of braking, it pulls itself over to the side of the road and stops, and the cooling systems activate and allows itself to cool down. It starts repairing whatever was worn away. Now, if you didn't know that it was a magic car, you might think, oh, something's wrong with my car. This is really annoying. You might even think my car's out to get me. My car, has betrayed me. It's broken. What a piece of junk. Now, of course, nothing could be further from the truth. It's actually this extremely powerful car that is repairing itself, and it's a good thing it did pull itself over because otherwise it would have broken in some expensive way, and that would have been bad for everybody involved, except the mechanic, of course. This is exactly how stress and anxiety and depression work. Fortunately, your magical body and brain have the ability to put a stop to your overuse of anxiety and creating too much adrenaline and cortisol, which will damage your nervous system over time, and so it can force you to take a time out. This we call depression. Depression is not a problem. Depression is a vital defense mechanism that every perfectly working human being has the capacity to do. And it's not just depression. Bipolar disorder is similar. So for example, let's just say that you're driving and the car is overheating, it pulls itself over, it starts repairing itself, and once it's repaired, let's say, it lets you back on the road and you start going, you're still driving it improperly. You're still not operating it within its means. Human beings generally don't fix the problems. They just keep doing the same problem they had before. So of course, the car has to pull itself over again. Then it lets you back on and it pulls off again. That is essentially bipolar disorder. On the other hand, maybe your car doesn't trust you and it doesn't want you to get back on the road, and then it kind of just stays there and it's not allowing you to retake control of the vehicle. This we call chronic depression. A lot of times chronic depression comes from a person trying to make anxiety even when they're in this low depressed mode. So your brain's like, okay, we need to chill out, we need a time out, we need to repair itself. And if you're still trying to make anxiety even when you're depressed, which a lot of people do, your brain just might never feel comfortable letting you out of that depression, or it might not even be able to let you out of that depression. Okay, so what can we do about this? Number one, we have to stop seeing the depression or the bipolar disorder as the problem. There's lots of other ones too. OCD also is a function of anxiety. There's essentially, I would say, most what we normally call disorders are really just normal behaviors where your body's trying to protect you from you making excess anxiety. Okay, so what can we do about this? We're not going to call the depression the problem or the bipolar the problem. It's just your brain trying to step in and protect you. The thing you have to do is operate your body and mind within its specified parameters. In other words, you have to stop making so much anxiety. This is another foreign concept to a lot of people. Anxiety is not something that happens to you from the outside world. It's something that we actually make ourselves every single time we have it. And some people, I'd say like less enlightened people, think of anxiety as something you can't control, as being part of the outside world. A lot of people that are wiser about how the mind works, probably if you're listening to this video, you probably know more than the average person. And so you might have the idea, okay, well, yes, I do get the idea that I do create my own anxiety, but how do I stop doing that? It feels so automatic. Okay, so let's start here. Your brain essentially has three states that it can be in. It can be comfortable, it can be underactive, or it can be overactive. Those are logically all the states that your brain can be in. I normally call overactive stressed, and I call underactive bored. Stressed would also include afraid, angry, etc. Bored would also include lonely, depressed, anything related to underactivity of the brain. And I want to compare how you think about things you're comfortable with how you think about things that you're anxious about. So right now, take a second to think about something you're totally comfortable with. Watching your favorite TV show, brushing your teeth, whatever it is. Just think of something now. Okay, so when you're thinking about that, you are essentially doing two or three things. You're imagining yourself doing the thing successfully, and you can easily imagine it from beginning to end. You may also be thinking of it as being a quick and easy activity. You know how as you get better at something, it seems quicker and easier in your mind than it does to someone who's brand new at the activity? So things that we feel comfortable with, we naturally start to feel as being successful and quick and easy, regardless of the actual physical characteristics of that activity. On the other hand, things that we feel anxious about, we tend to imagine either something going wrong or ourselves failing to do them, or it just being too hard for us. This naturally creates anxiety. Like, think about anything that you have anxiety about right now, and you will notice that when you think about it, you're imagining it not going well or yourself failing to do it. Okay, now here's the thing that is the hardest part of my job. And you, like, depending on how much you know about this stuff and how you think about it, this may be more or less easy to accept for you. Whether you think about something as being difficult or hard or unpleasant or you can't do it, versus you thinking of yourself as being very good at it and it being easy, is completely subjective. It's not true. There's no truth in reality. If you think about something as being stressful, that is not true or false, right or wrong, or good or bad. You are just used to thinking about it that way. What you must do is take control of how you imagine that activity, because your brain only creates emotion based on what you imagine. You could serve yourself very well by thinking about your unconscious mind as a machine that turns your imagination into emotion. That's basically what your unconscious mind does. So try this, and this might be something you're ready for, might not be something you're ready for, but because I don't know exactly who I'm talking to, just kind of try this activity and see if you gain something from this. I want you to think of an activity that you normally think as being like a stressful, maybe not the most stressful activity, but start with something a little bit easier, something that, maybe you have a little bit of intimidation about. And what I want you to do is just kind of wipe that clean for a second. And I want you to take a moment, and we're just going to make it really simple. We're just going to make 3 pictures about this activity. And I'm going to call it the before, during, and after pictures. So I want you to think of the before picture and I want you to see a picture of you being totally prepared to start. You have everything you need. You're ready to go. You're looking and feeling great. Just a still picture. Second picture, you're in the middle of doing the thing and you're doing it successfully. Third picture, you have done the thing successfully and you are now enjoying the benefit of doing it. So you only do that. Don't do anything else. Just do exactly what I said for the experiment to work. And you should notice that if you do that correctly, you actually feel better about it. Like your brain perceives that in a better, less stressful way. Now you have to avoid thinking about that as being not true, because guess what? Your old way wasn't true either. So none of them are true or false. None of them are right or wrong. None of them are good or bad. You get to decide what imagination you give to your unconscious mind, which will in turn give you a feeling that is most useful for your life. You have to decide that. You as a conscious mind don't really do much of the work of your brain. All you do is get information from the outside world and then imagine stuff to yourself. That's basically all you do. Your unconscious mind does all the brute work. Your body does a lot of brute work also. All you can do is really interpret and directionalize how you think. So you must take control of that power. Practice this exercise, this before, during, and after exercise with different things that were previously stressful. Get used to them, and I think you'll find you start feeling much more confident and positive about those activities.